Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Heavyweight the Weigh In. I hope that all is well with you all. Before we get started, it will be remiss of me not to acknowledge the fact that it is Black History Month. Happy Black History Month. Say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud. All right, let's get into it. So, I hope that y'all enjoyed the three-part episode of Battle of the Minds. It was great conversation, great perspectives, great insight, but most of all, I had an awesome panel of guests, and I truly appreciate them for being a part of the show. Um, so, if you're wondering what I'm talking about, please go back and look at those episodes. That is after this episode that is titled Comparison is the Thief of Joy. And it truly is. So, I hope y'all ready to weigh in. I know I am. So, let's go ahead and weigh in. I decided to weigh in on this particular topic because I believe it to be very relevant in today's time. Constantly being privy to someone else's life, whether it be watching them on reality television or keeping up with them on social media platforms, their daily activities, what they're doing in their daily lives. We are always advertently or inadvertently comparing ourselves to others. And so I felt the need to have a little bit of discussion with you guys because I think it's important that we remain mindful and cognizant that God has created our paths to be uniquely different in their own way. And he has created each and every one of us to be uniquely different. So let's not, get to comparing ourselves to others because, once again, it is truly the thief of joy. Now, while I was prepping for this episode, I came across a short passage that I had written down in 2019, actually February 22nd of 2019 to be exact. So I'll go ahead and read it for you all. As I was driving and came to a stop at the red light, I noticed the same car I was driving pull up to the left of me. I'm staring at the car, and God placed a spiritual comparison on my mind. Observing the other car, I noticed that it's slowly inching up because the light was getting ready to turn green. I'm thinking to myself, this car is going to try to cut me off once this light turns green. So I started to let my foot off the brake a bit and move a little closer to the light. For everybody who knows me, they know that I have a little bit of an issue, just a little bit of road rage, all right? But it's all right. I'm not perfect by any means. It just means that I constantly need Jesus. Anywho, but then something says stop. I obey because I'm thinking, you know what? The sun is shining and I'm on my way to the gym. Life is good. The light turns green and we both take off headed in the same direction. And at first, the car was beating me. And then in my peripheral, I see the car veer off onto the ramp, getting on the freeway. I then looked at my GPS and it said in zero point 0.6 miles, your destination will be on the right. I then chuckled a little to myself because God was showing me that although you and another person may have the same starting point and you're going through life thinking that they are beating you because they are moving faster than you must know that they are none of your concern. As long as you are following God's will for your life, everything else will fall into place. From what it looked like, that car was beating me. And it looked like we were headed in the same direction, but we weren't. That car's destination was a lot farther than mine, and my car kept following the GPS. And my destination was on the right in zero point 0.6 miles. So sometimes in life, it may look like we are losing, but if we keep going in this race called life and following God's will and path he has for our lives, our destination, dreams, jobs, husband, wife, children, healing, etc., will be coming before we know it. And in 6 hours, 2 days, a week, 2 months, 2 years, God will be saying, your destination, your blessing, your breakthrough is on the right, and you have arrived. So stay encouraged. I think it's so ironic that I had to write that down in 2019, and it really was weighing so heavy on me that I had to write it down in my notes in my phone before I went into the gym. And who knew that I would be reading that passage in 2021 on my podcast? And it encouraged me when I read it, because I'm like, oh my God, this is so true. And it's so relevant for the topic that I am discussing. So that's why I decided to read it to you guys, because it is important that we don't veer off into someone else's lane and, start following somebody else's path, because we don't know how far their destination is and we don't know their process. We each have a unique process, and it's gems in our process. So let's not skip over our process that God has created specifically for us to try to get something instantaneously. Instant gratification is a killer, dream killer, okay? So it's important that we stay on our unique path. So I'll get into the illustration that I have here, and it is actually just a visual representation of what I just read to you guys. And for those of you who are listening, I have 2 cars that look exactly alike, with them being on a poster board, and it's 2 lanes. And the people that are in the car are different. Well, at least I made them different, all right? They were the same when I bought it, but what I did was I just wrapped a little bit of tape around her head and gave her some sandy brown hair. Okay, she cute, right? Gave her a little smiley face. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So they're different. The people in the car are different, okay? And that shows how we are all different, okay? And they're in their own separate lanes. And to the right, the car to the right has a destination that is closer. And this stopper, this hold placeholder, is actually a representation of the destination. And the car to the left, their destination is further, and it's further ahead. But what's in front of them, which is what is written on the poster board at the end, is the scripture Jeremiah 29:11. And it's just representing the fact that we all have a plan, all right? God has a plan for us all. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and future, all right? And he's saying this to you. He's not saying that, you and your friend dream, you and your friend, I got the same plan for y'all, I'm gonna look out for y'all. He's not saying that. So he's letting us know that he has a plan for us specifically, to give us hope and future, to prosper us. So it's important that we stay in our lanes and not get to comparing ourselves to others and trying to mimic and mirror other people's, process or whatever, or take other people's passions and dreams because we think that it will give us instant gratification, and we think that their process may be easier than ours because it looks like, they're extremely wealthy or whatever it is that you're trying to obtain. But it's important that we just keep steady with our own process and not veer off into someone else's lane, because we might find ourselves going past our destination. That person may look like they're ahead of you, but your destination could be coming up. And I know that sometimes it gets a little weary being in our process. We're like, oh my God, why is my life so hard? Why is it always so hard for me? But I've learned that Listen, the harder the process, the greater the promise. So keep going. I'm not where I want to be by any means. However, in being content in every season that God has had me in, whether it be a storm, whether it be a good time, whatever, being content in whatever season He has me in, I've come out of that season with a great, like, just a great promise. And it has shown me that as long as I stay focused on my destination, my dreams, my goals, and follow the unique path that God has set out for me, I will get there. I will get to where I need to be. And God willing, God willing, it is going to be worth every bit of my process, every bit of it. So, Jeremiah is actually a perfect example of what I'm talking about, because if we look at him in a human perspective, he was probably deemed a great failure, right? Majority of Jeremiah's life, he was poor, unpopular, isolated, and even persecuted. But God appointed Jeremiah to be a prophet to the nations before he was formed in his mother's womb. And Jeremiah thought he was too young to prophesy and be God's messenger. But the Lord said, he didn't really say but that's how I interpreted it. Anyway, he said, don't say that you are too young. You must go wherever I send you and say whatever I tell you to say. So God was telling him, like, listen, I got your back, homie. I got your back as long as you follow the path that I set out for you, because I need you to do a work for me. I need you to speak to my people. And so what I love most about Jeremiah is there were so many, prophets in the Bible, right? But Jeremiah is showing us that you can very well be doing the same thing as somebody else, but your path and how you do it is different, right? Because Jeremiah was unique in the way that he prophesied. He used figurative actions to relay a message, such as shattering the clay jar to show how God would shatter Jerusalem. And it wasn't well received from the people, but it was his own unique way of doing something that God has called him to do. And I thought it was very, interesting, very interesting. And he was, set out to do what God has called him to do. God said, I'm watching you. He told him, I'm watching you. I got my eye on you. And as long as you do what I tell you to do, I got your back. So as long as we do what God has called us to do, God has our back in everything that he has called us to do. He's going to make sure that you get the promise. He's going to make sure, as long as you stay on your path and don't go veering off onto somebody else's or comparing your life. Because soon as you get to comparing, that's as soon as you get to doubting yourself, doubting that you're not going to get there because you feel like, my process, oh my God, this is too much, it's too long. I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm getting discouraged. It is okay. Your process is a vital piece of your success. So it is a mandate. It is a must that you go through it in order to obtain the promise, because you are learning things along the way, and you are learning things that will also help you in the promise, in your dream, and operating in your dream. You need those lessons. You need all of that. So don't get caught up in comparing yourself to someone else and to someone else's journey and their process, because you're going to get distracted and you're not going to reach your destination. All right. Instant gratification, all of that is a dream killer. You do not want to get something instantaneously, because as soon as you get it instantly is as soon as you lose it, because you don't you don't appreciate it, you don't value it. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I have to say about that. As far as comparing yourself, let's just stay in our lane, because we each have our own paths and processes that we have to go through. Okay, and but most of all, God knows us best, better than we know ourselves. So let's trust in Him and trust the plan that He has for our lives, because it's better than you trying to create your own plan and take bits and pieces of someone else's journey or life and trying to make it your own, and ultimately not being happy, because you can't find happiness in somebody else's journey if you miss the steps along the way. You know what I'm saying? So you have to find happiness in your own journey and be content in your own season, because listen, you just never know. Your destination might be closer than somebody else's. Just like I mentioned in episode 5, Let It Fall. Ecclesiastes speaks about there being a time for everything. So your time is coming. Your destination is coming up. But it speaks about there being a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. Therefore, let's not get caught up in the comparison game, because we could very well be comparing our season to someone else's season that's in a different time zone and mess around and miss what God has for us because of being too busy trying to keep up with another person's journey. And I hope you caught that. You could very well be in the same season as someone, including doing the same, thing, having the same dream or whatever, but be in a different time zone. So that means your destination could be closer than the next person that you're comparing yourself to. So let's just keep our eye on our destination, on our, the road that God has set out for us, the path that God has set out for us, and not compare ourselves. And also, we all know that social media sometimes is just a big misinterpretation, and also false perceptions and all of that. It's just a lot that comes along with social media. You could be, looking at someone who's just putting up a front. You know what I'm saying? Comparing your life to someone who's not even really happy with themselves or happy with their journey, happy with their process, or posting fake progress. It's just important, like I said, that we don't compare ourselves, because we don't know what we're comparing ourselves to. It may look like they're further along than you, but they're really not, And even if they are, I'm sure that they went through their process, and that's how they reached their promise. They reached their destination. They had to go through their process, and they follow the path that God has set out for them. Okay? So, I say all of this to say, just keep it on focus. Keep it on focus, all right? In your lane. Don't drift off into somebody else's lane. No one else is your concern, all right? You are your concern. God is concerned about you. He's concerned about how He is going to use you and your uniqueness and whatever else that He has created for you to do. He created us all uniquely and differently. So keep your focus. Keep your focus. And another thing that I wanted to add is just saying that I am is not saying that you aren't. Now, I'll repeat that again. Saying that I am is not saying that you aren't. I hear a lot of when someone is speaking positively about themselves and just saying good things like for example, I'm successful in my business, I'm flourishing, I'm doing great things, or something as simple as, oh, my hair has gotten longer or whatever, and then the person that you're speaking to just comes out the blue like, well, my hair is long too, or my business is successful too, or and it's like almost like they're taking offense to what you're saying about yourself. These are just positive affirmations that people are speaking about themselves. There's no reason to get uncomfortable about someone speaking good things about themselves. That means that you need to do some self-reflection. Go and check yourself, okay? Because you can speak the same way about yourself. Me saying that I am is not saying that you aren't. You could very well, yes, you could very well be successful too. But right now, I'm talking about me. This is how I feel about myself. You know what I'm saying? So just go along with it. Congratulate them. You know what, girl, sis, you right. Yes, you are the bomb. Absolutely. We need to normalize just, speaking positively about one another and being happy for one another's successes instead of being jealous or envious. Like, all of that needs to stop. And that goes along with comparison being the thief of joy. I didn't say that for you to compare to me. I was just letting you know, just to have conversation with you and just let you know that God is doing great things in my life and I'm happy about it. And maybe it'll give you some inspiration, but it is not to, drive any sort of competition or anything like that. I'm just literally just talking about myself. No ill intent, pun intended. I am just saying positive things about myself. And you can too. So let's not take offense to someone speaking positively about themselves. But anyway, and now that I got that out of the way, basically, moral of the story, comparison really truly is the thief of joy. And in order to hold on to yours, that means stay focused on yours and love yours. Okay? We only get one life. So let's focus on the life that God has given us and be happy in it. Okay? Let's be happy in our journey, our process, whatever it is that God has taken us through. Let's remain joyful in it and not compare ourselves to others. All right? All right. So I hope y'all got something out of this message. It was short. I didn't keep you long. I know y'all happy. But I didn't keep you long. So I hope that you got something from this. And I wish you all well in whatever journey and whatever it is that you're pursuing and whatever it is that God has called you to do. I wish you well. And I just wish you nothing but, endurance, stamina, or whatever to endure whatever process it is that God is taking you through so that you can remain focused and not compare yourself to anybody else, because we all can win in this thing called life. All right? So your destination could be coming up in 0.6 miles. Stay focused. Y'all have a good one.